worse things out tonight than vampires.
Like what?
Like me. Better wake up. The world you live in is just a sugar-coated topping. There is another world beneath it. The real world.
Some of you are about to die. That line, that voice, that face staring down a room full of vampires with nothing but courage and a syringe full of hope. Blade explodes onto screens. Wesley Snipes becomes a legend. But there's another face in that film. A woman who held her own against the darkness. A scientist who didn't scream, didn't faint, didn't wait to be rescued. Dr. Karen Jenson. The woman who played her should have become a household name. Her name is N'Bushe Wright, and if you're wondering why you haven't seen her in much lately, you're not alone. Millions of Blade fans have been asking the same question for over 2 decades.
The maxilla looks a little deformed. And some odd muscle structure around the canines.
Because after Blade became one of the most important superhero films ever made, after it pulled in $131.2 million worldwide and changed the game for comic book movies forever, N'Bushe Wright's Hollywood career took an unexpected turn. What happened to Dr. Karen Jenson? More importantly, what happened to the brilliant actress who brought her to life? Today, we're diving deep into the story of N'Bushe Wright, a tale of talent, tragedy, and choices that most fans never knew about. The Foundation. Before we get to what happened, we need to understand who N'Bushe Wright really is. Because this wasn't some lucky actress who stumbled into a blockbuster. This was a trained artist with pedigree, talent, and a work ethic that would put most Hollywood stars to shame. Born on September 7, 1969, in Brooklyn, New York, N'Bushe grew up surrounded by art. According to multiple sources, her father was Stanley Wright, also known by his stage name Suleiman Mareem Wright, a respected jazz musician. Her mother was a psychologist with the New York City Board of Education. If you know anything about jazz, you know it's about discipline, improvisation, and soul. Those 3 things would define N'Bushe's entire approach to acting. But before acting, there was dance. From a young age, N'Bushe trained at some of the most prestigious dance institutions in the world. According to her Wikipedia page and IMDb biography, she attended the Alvin Ailey Dance Center and the Martha Graham School of Dance. These aren't just dance schools. They're world-renowned cultural institutions that produce artists who understand movement, emotion, and storytelling through the body. She wasn't playing around. This was serious professional training. Dance taught her presence. It taught her how to command a stage without saying a word. And then, something shifted. N'Bushe discovered acting. She enrolled at the Stella Adler Studio of Acting in New York. Stella Adler's method was about truth, imagination, and understanding the circumstances that make a character real. She wasn't just learning lines, she was learning to excavate human truth. Let's be clear, these aren't just names on a resume. The Alvin Ailey School is world famous for its Revelations, a piece that embodies the joy, sorrow, and spiritual history of the Black experience. It teaches dancers to be vessels for powerful, historic emotions. Then there's Stella Adler. This is the school that trained Marlon Brando, Robert De Niro, and Salma Hayek. Adler's technique was famously built on the idea that the talent is in the choices. She didn't teach people to just feel. She taught them to use their intellect, their imagination, and rigorous research to build a character, bone by bone. So before N'Bushe Wright ever stepped on a film set, she had the discipline of a world-class athlete from Ailey and the intellectual, emotional toolkit of an acting master from Adler. She wasn't just prepared, she was a finely tuned instrument. The result was a hybrid performer, an actress with the raw physical discipline of a world-class dancer and the deep psychological insight of a dramatic master. She was ready. Hollywood just didn't know it yet. The Rise. N'Bushe Wright's film debut came in Zebrahead, an independent drama about interracial relationships and urban tensions. According to her IMDb page, within a year of attending Stella Adler's studio, Wright was starring in this film. It's a small film, but N'Bushe's performance gets noticed. The same year, she lands a recurring role on I'll Fly Away, a critically acclaimed NBC drama about race relations in the South during the 1960s. The show was short-lived but highly regarded, and N'Bushe held her own against seasoned television veterans. Hollywood was starting to pay attention, but then came 1994, and everything changed. Fresh. If you haven't seen this film, it's a gut-wrenching drama about a 12-year-old boy trying to survive the drug trade in Brooklyn, and N'Bushe Wright delivers a performance that still haunts viewers to this day. According to Wikipedia, she received positive reviews for her portrayal of the drug-addicted older sister of the title protagonist. It's a role that could have been a stereotype. N'Bushe refused to do that.
You know why I'm fresh.
Why?
Because his smack is the dope and he got plenty of it.
Her performance is painfully real. She doesn't play an addict. She plays a human being destroyed by addiction. Critics took notice. This wasn't just good acting. This was the kind of performance that announces a major talent. To understand why this performance was so special, you have to watch her in the film. She doesn't just cry or shout. Watch the scene where she's jonesing, and her little brother, Fresh, is in the room. You see the entire war in her eyes, the physical sickness, the shame, the manipulation, and the flickering, desperate love for her brother that's being suffocated. It's an incredibly brave performance, free of ego.
Well, interestingly, after reading the script, I wasn't sure because the whole idea of the negative portrayal, we don't necessarily need to see anymore.
In an era where addict was often a one-note, hysterical stereotype, she found the human being inside the trope and played that instead. That's the Stella Adler training in action. This is what made the Hughes brothers notice her for Dead Presidents. Her role as Delilah, an idealistic Black Panther member, showed a completely different side. She was no longer the victim. She was the fire. She brought a grounded intelligence and revolutionary zeal that was just as convincing as her desperation in Fresh. She had proven her range. Everything is pointing in one direction, upward. N'Bushe Wright is on the verge of stardom. The peak. And then comes 1998, Blade. New Line Cinema takes a gamble on a Marvel character most people have never heard of. They cast Wesley Snipes. And for the female lead, the scientist who gets pulled into Blade's war, they cast N'Bushe Wright. Dr. Karen Jenson isn't your typical action movie heroine. She's not a love interest who exists to be rescued. She's not eye candy. She's a brilliant hematologist who gets bitten by a vampire and has mere hours before she turns. She's not a sidekick. She's a co-protagonist. From the moment she appears on screen, N'Bushe Wright makes Karen Jenson feel real. She's terrified, yes, but she's also smart, determined, and resourceful. In a genre dominated by brawn, N'Bushe Wright made intelligence the ultimate weapon.
And she's a hematologist, and she's in research.
Think about what 90s action heroines were. They were often the damsel in distress, the one-note tough girl in a leather jacket, or the love interest who needed saving in the third act. N'Bushe Wright's Karen Jenson was none of those. She was a doctor. She was the brains of the operation. She's the one who figures out the vampire-killing EDTA. She's the one who develops the cure. The film's entire plot resolution hinges on her intellect, not her fists. And remember the cultural context of 1998. The year before, we had Batman and Robin, a film that almost killed the entire genre with its camp and commercialism. Superhero movies were considered a financial risk, especially ones that weren't about Batman or Superman. Blade came out and was dark, R-rated, stylish, and full of horror. It was the first time a Marvel hero truly felt cool and adult on screen. That is the film N'Bushe Wright helped lead. She holds her own in scenes with Wesley Snipes. That's not easy. Snipes is at the peak of his powers in this film, but N'Bushe matches him beat for beat. Karen Jenson is the moral center of the film. She reminds Blade what he's fighting for. Without N'Bushe Wright's performance, Blade doesn't work. It's that simple. August 21st, 1998, Blade opens. According to Box Office Mojo, it's a phenomenon. $131.2 million worldwide. #1 at the box office. and suddenly everyone is talking about how Blade just proved that Marvel comic book movies can work. This is pre-X-Men, pre-Spider-Man, pre-MCU. Blade kicked down the door that made all of those possible. It was a cultural reset, and N'Bushe Wright was standing right at the center of the explosion. She should have become a superstar. She should have had her pick of roles. Instead, her career hit a wall. The turn. Here's what fans noticed. When Blade the Sect went into production in 2002 with Guillermo del Toro directing and Wesley Snipes returning, Dr. Karen Jenson wasn't in it. At all. Not even a mention. Not a cameo. The character who was so central to the first film, who saved Blade's life, who represented hope and humanity in a dark world, was just gone. Erased. There's been speculation online about why, but no official statement has ever been given about why Karen Jenson was written out of the sequels. The films simply move forward with new characters filling similar roles. For the female lead of a $130 million franchise launching hit, being completely discarded was a brutal and baffling industry move. And let's be blunt, this move, while shocking, wasn't entirely unfamiliar. Hollywood, especially at that time, had a long history of treating its non-white leads, and particularly its black female leads, as interchangeable. It's the revolving door trope. A black-led film is a hit, but the studio gets nervous about building a franchise around the same faces. N'Bushe Wright was a victim of this. The industry saw her as replaceable, and they replaced her. This wasn't just a creative decision. It was a cold, calculated business move that suggested they believed the female lead was the least valuable part of their $130 million asset. The fade. After the Blade 2 snub, the blazing momentum N'Bushe Wright had built for a decade was gone. She continued working, but the trajectory had been fundamentally broken. According to her filmography on Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb, she appeared in several projects. In 2000, she had a leading role in the comedy 3 Strikes. In 2001, she landed a recurring part on the TV crime drama UC Undercover, which ran until 2002. In 2003, Wright found another recurring part on the drama Platinum and reteamed with Nima Barnett for the hard-hitting women-in-prison drama Civil Brand. She made guest appearances on several television series including Homicide, Life on the Street, Chappelle's Show, and Third Watch. These were solid roles, but the A-list stardom that Blade should have launched never materialized. Her career, once on a meteoric rise, had become a slow fade. The tragedy. But there's something else most fans don't know. Something that puts N'Bushe Wright's career trajectory and her subsequent withdrawal from public life into a heartbreaking new perspective. According to multiple news sources including the New York Daily News and News One, tragedy struck N'Bushe Wright's family twice. First, in 2009, her mother passed away. Losing her mother, the family's intellectual anchor, was a terrible blow. Then, in May 2011, something horrific happened. N'Bushe's father, Stanley Wright, also known as Suleiman Marim Wright, went missing. According to news reports from Gothamist, he had been missing for several days when his son, Khalil, went to check on his Brooklyn home. What they found was devastating. According to police reports, Stanley Wright's body was discovered in a storage trunk in the basement of his home. He was 62 years old. The home showed signs of a break-in. He was the artistic soul of her upbringing, a beloved figure in his community who taught piano lessons to neighborhood children for as little as $10. This wasn't just a personal loss. It was a public and violent spectacle. News reports at the time were gruesome, detailing the state of the home and the horrific nature of the discovery. This wasn't a quiet passing. It was a trauma that was splashed across the New York tabloids, a nightmare played out for public consumption. For N'Bushe, who had already lost her mother just 2 years prior, this event was an unimaginable horror. It's one thing to deal with the sharks of the Hollywood industry. It's another thing entirely to have the absolute foundation of your life so brutally and publicly ripped away. According to the news site Amamama, N'Bushe Wright was living on the West Coast at the time and flew back to New York. The impact of losing both parents within 2 years, especially under such traumatic and violent circumstances, cannot be overstated. Where she is now. So where is N'Bushe Wright today? According to various sources, her last credited film appearance was in 2015. Since then, she has maintained an extremely low profile. N'Bushe Wright would be 56 years old now. According to reports, she doesn't maintain public social media accounts. She doesn't do interviews. She doesn't attend fan conventions. In an era where everyone in Hollywood is constantly visible, N'Bushe Wright has chosen privacy. And based on everything we know, this appears to be a deliberate choice. After experiencing the loss of both parents, including the horrific circumstances of her father's death, it's completely understandable that someone might choose to step back from public life. The legacy and conclusion. Let's talk about what N'Bushe Wright accomplished and why it matters. First, her performance in Blade was groundbreaking. Dr. Karen Jenson was a brilliant, brave scientist who was essential to the story.
Once I decided that I would, I go into methadone clinic. I lost 5 pounds, and at the clinic
Second, Blade itself was historically significant. It was Marvel's first box office success. It paved the way for everything that came after, and N'Bushe Wright was part of that history. Third, her body of work, from Fresh to Dead Presidents to Blade, demonstrated remarkable range. N'Bushe Wright's story isn't a tragedy. It's a reminder that there's more to life than Hollywood fame. She trained at prestigious institutions. She delivered powerful performances. She was part of a film that changed cinema. And when life dealt her unimaginable personal losses, she made choices that prioritized her own well-being over public visibility. That's not a cautionary tale. That's someone who lived on their own terms. Should she have been offered more opportunities? Should Dr. Karen Jenson have returned for Blade 2? Absolutely. But N'Bushe Wright doesn't owe us her continued presence. She gave us powerful performances. She gave us a character in Dr. Karen Jenson who was smart, brave, and essential. And now, she's chosen privacy. That's her right. When Marvel announces new Blade projects, Dr. Karen Jenson and N'Bushe Wright deserve to be remembered. They were essential to making that first film work. They were part of the foundation that the entire MCU was built on. So the next time you watch Blade, pay attention to N'Bushe Wright's performance. That work is still excellent. And N'Bushe Wright, wherever she is today, deserves recognition for what she contributed to cinema. She wasn't forgotten. She's exactly where she wants to be. What do you remember about N'Bushe Wright's performance in Blade? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want more deep dives into forgotten Hollywood stories, subscribe and hit that notification bell. Thanks for watching.